Hello. Hi guys, welcome back to Osego Codes. It's Osego. So today we bring a different video which is very different from what we usually do. This is a live, raw and unedited version of an event which I held last week, which was titled Full Stack Applications on Azure. So in this video, we go from building the backend to deploying it on a cloud platform, which is Azure. Then we move from that and shift to the front end. We build the very simplest blog application using Vue, which then we also push it to our code repository, our GitHub repository, and then we deploy it also to Azure. Then we go ahead to connect our backend, which is live, with our front end, which is live, to build or form what we call a full stack application. Now, the technology used in this video is the Venom stack, which is basically Vue, Express, Node, and MongoDB, forming what we call the Venom. And in this video, we build the very simplest application. We avoid the complexity so that you can actually get a gist of what it means when we say we are building full stack applications. Now, here's the thing. Our applications are going live from their initial stage. From the moment you set up your project, without writing the first code or just having the template or the boilerplate code, you will be able to deploy it to cloud application. Then leveraging on GitHub Actions, you will be able to set up jobs to do what we call CI/CD. So each moment you build a new feature, you push it, it is automatically built, go through all the tests, and then it is deployed to your deployment resource, which is now on Azure. This will be evident on how we are going to deploy our front-end application. So I'll just go straight into what we're supposed to be doing. So, uh, so here we have an application, and then before we have that application, I want to actually create an application really quick so that we see how you can actually move your application from the local host all the way to Azure. So I already have a backend which is ready that we're going to use. So first of all, I want to log into my Azure account. So I'll just log into my Azure account. So in this meeting, let me know by a reaction, thumbs up, how many of you have an Azure account that has some credits? If you have, just react with the thumbs up so that I can know if you have an Azure account, be it for students, be it one that you are paying on for yourself, so that we can see. Now, a full stack application is an application which has both the backend and the front end. That is what we call a full stack application. So let me open up Canvas so that we can actually visualize what we are going to do here. Now, when we talk about full stack application, usually if someone's a developer, we can have either a backend developer or a front-end developer. Now, a backend developer is someone who is responsible for building the logic of the application or the engine, what drives the application. That is things to do with the database, the servers, networking, and all. And then now we have a front-end developer. A front-end developer is responsible for building what we see on the screen. For example, right now, what you are seeing in front of your screen is the work of a front-end developer. So I'll just create a blank presentation here really quick. So let me just pick up a whiteboard. So I want us to share to see what we have, so that by the time we're moving to cloud, you'll be able to understand, okay, so what does it mean to move from cloud, from your machine to the cloud? That is what we want to focus on today. Okay, so now when you have an application right now, let me have this as a presentation of what we are supposed to be doing. Sorry, why is it giving me problems? Okay, wait a minute. Want to share this really quick, then we go to the practical base. Of course, we need to get the understanding of what happens, and then with that, we'll be able to understand what happens when we now do it practically. Now, here's what usually happens. Now, this is my front end. I'll call this my front end. So I can just add some text here. And then I call this my front end. And then we have something else that we call the back end. So front end is what is actually what you are able to see. Then we have the back end, which is what you don't see. So between the front end and back end, there's a communication. Now the front end is, of course, where you interact with your application. Now the front end is responsible for sending a request to the back end. And then the back end is responsible for sending information back to the client, which is, of course, what you'll be requesting for. So what we have here is the communication between the front end and the back end. So in the front end is where the user is, that is you now. And then in the back end is where we have the server. Now the front end is where you will use a client like a browser. And when you send a request to a backend, that is what we call you sending a request to the backend. Okay. Now here we have now a request. That is what we send to the backend. Now when you send a request to the backend, now the backend gets your request, it understands what you want to do, and then after processing your request, it sends back a response. Okay. So we get a response from the server. Now, this is what now we call, in a simple terms, the request response cycle. So I come here, for example, if I'm visiting a site, for example, a school portal or any other site that requests sign up. I come here, then I want to log in, okay? Now, in my front end, we have a form for logging in. So here I have something like all I want to do is log in. Now, when logging in, I want to send my password and my email address to the backend. Okay. Now that is what we send as a request, the password and the email. So you'll have your password and email being sent to the backend for processing. Okay. Now, when it comes to the backend will check the email. Do we have any record in our database that has the such email that you sent? Okay. If it's okay, it goes ahead and checks the password that we have stored in our database. Does it match the password that you sent from the client? If it matches, then we get a response to the status of OK. Now we get an OK from the server. Now the OK now comes with a status of 200, which means the processing is OK, right? And then now we send a response back. Now a response is like the data that you're sending back to the client. I hope you've seen at some point in your browser, once you log in, you have something like login successful. Okay, so we'll have it here. So once it's okay, then it sends back a signal to the client telling it, okay, the user that sent the password and the email exists. The email, we have it there, and the password is correct. Therefore, the request is okay. So it sends back the response back to the front end with a message of okay and a status of 200 to tell it that request was successful and it's okay. So you can proceed to log in the
the user. Now, this request continues that way again and again. For example, now I want to access maybe my portal or my results. I'll go to my results resource. I send a request. It checks, do I have any results here in my backend? If it finds it, it gives an OK. Then a response is sent back containing data that we've requested for. For example, if it is your results for last semester or the results for the past 2 years. A resource could be something like even your school fee balance, your fee statement, anything that you can request here. If it's available in the server, we get a status of 200, and then we send back a response with OK. And in that response, we attach the data that the user requested for. So basically, that is the high overview of what you need to understand when we talk of a client-server communication or a request-response cycle. Okay. Now, how does the front end knows which server it needs to communicate with? You see, we have, for example, a domain name, something like, let's call it www.domain.com. Okay, that is what we have here. Someone is having, okay, thank you. So we have a domain name here because, we have a number of servers in the provision in the internet. Okay, now, but we want to access a particular server. Now, for us to know which server we want to access, we need to have a domain name. Now, a domain name is like what will map our request to a specific server. Now, usually you find that these servers, they don't understand what this www.domain means. And that's where something what we call a DNS comes in, domain naming system. Now, if I tell you in between here, we have what we call DNS. Now, DNS, itakaa katikati, it will stand in between here. And then here we have our server, which has an address that for a human being to understand, it's hard. So we have an address, for example, let's say 152.36.48, and then maybe at port 6000, something of the sort. Okay. Now, because it is most of the time humans that interact with the client browsers, what humans understand is the plain English or the plain text. For example, when you say www.domain.com, you can easily remember that name and like you can use it anytime because it's easier to understand. Now, once you type in www.domain.com, now this one gets mapped to the DNS. So when I come to my elements here, I can actually show you how communication happens. So let's have it there. So what happens is that URL that you typed is taken to the DNS here. Then the DNS does what? It converts that domain name into a URL or an address that matches the server that we are requesting resources from. So from the DNS, this www.domain.com will be converted to the address that we wanted to access down here. You see this address here. Now, this is what we will have being sent down here. Like it will map that request to this address. So that request will be mapped from www.domain to this one. So with this, we know that we're accessing this server. Okay. Now, what happens is that the only language that the server understands is this kind of address. It doesn't understand this one. This one is for your own convenience as a human. Now, when you send that here, now we have the URL to the server. So what our frontend needs, because the frontend are just static files made of CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. They are not such significant. It's just a platform for you to interact with the server. Now, we will connect our backend URL to our frontend so that whenever we make any request, it knows exactly where to send our request, okay? And we'll be able to inspect that in our browser. For example, let me show you a real quick how you can do that. For example, if I access YouTube right now, let me click on YouTube. Now on YouTube here, if you right click and then click on inspect, Then if on the console here, we have elements. Of course, this shows you the HTML, CSS files, and JavaScript files that actually render what we have on our page. Now, when I click on console, of course, not important for this session, but when you come to network, you will be able to see all requests that are being sent in the background, okay? For example, if you see right now, there's a request going on, right? Like if you click any here, you'll be able to see the request URL is this one here, https www.youtube.com/generate. So this is the URL that is connected to the front end that we have here. So same to our application that you're going to build, we are going to ensure that our backend that you already have, we have its URL configured in the front end so that whenever we make any request from the front end, it knows exactly where to send that request to, because we want it to send it to a specific server. Okay, so that's just the general overview of what we want to tackle and what we want to implement in this session, right? So until that point, do we have anyone having a question from just the brief introduction of the client-server communication request response cycle? Do we have any question up to that point? Feel free to ask anything that you feel like should be touched upon. Amazing. So there being no question, we go ahead and now do what we want to do. Now in our application, we are going to build a front end from scratch here, as we see. Now we are going to have, now I just allow me remove that there, or actually I can just leave it there. I'm going to tell you in our backend, we already have an API which is ready for us. So what we have here is an API for a blog, which will be our server application. Then in the front end, we are going to have a client application. Now this client application is what is going to enable us to interact with the API for the blog. Now we can tell it, okay, bro, give us a post of ID number 6. Then it does that. Or we tell it, can you fetch all the posts? Then it does that, okay? Now that is what we want to do in this session. Now, back to Azure. We are going to use Azure to deploy this application. And we are going to be active in the chats because I'm going to send you a link that I want us to test. Like when we do something, you test it, you see why it's important to have your application streamlined in the cloud and all the benefits that it comes with, okay? So in this application, I already have what we call an API, which is already hosted. Now I want to send you this link in the chat section. Then you will test it and tell me if it works. Of course, it works. I'll also show it on our end. And then, of course, later on, you can try it for 5 minutes after the meeting. Then I'll shut it down so that you don't consume a lot of my credits. So I have API, which is already hosted on the cloud. And this API will allow us to perform CRUD functionalities. Now, CRUD is an acronym for create, which means you want to add some document to a database. Read, you want to fetch it from the database. U for updates, it means you want to update maybe the title or the description. And then also we have delete, which means you want to clear or remove something from the database. Okay, so if I click on this default domain, you see I have a domain name here, and then I have the link for the API right on the end. So when I click on this, it will load, and then what do we see? We can see that we have some information from the backend. So let me send you guys this link so you all see that actually we're doing this practical. Kipto is already complaining you can't see the link, the guy link. Okay, so that's the link. So I have the link in the chat. You can test it on your browsers. So in that link, test it first and ensure that you get this message back. And if you have anyone who has tested it already, please react on the meeting so that I can know that it's working. Ukishaitest ukaona hello from the server end, send me a reaction using this React here, nione it's working. Okay, amazing. So we all have that information which reads hello from the server end. Amazing. So on that link, I want you to append this this URL here. Now I'm sending you a new link. Where do we have our chat here? So I'm sending you a new link. So test that on your browser. Of course, you can only do a GET request on your browser. So test that also. If you get what I'm going to get on my end, tell me that you got it. Once you get what we have here, just react on our meeting and say it's actually returning what we are seeing. Very nice, very nice. Someone else to confirm that? Amazing. So it's something that is working. Thank you. So that's the API that we are having in our Azure account, which means I built an API and then moved it from my local host all the way to the cloud where anyone can access it. Now imagine if it was in my computer. There's no way for you guys to test it like we have now done it, right? Now, with that, you've only tested the GET request, which is the part of the R in the CRUD, which is read. In this case, you are fetching what we have in the database and sending it back to the client. So this is the client, right? The browser that you are seeing. So we have 3 posts. First post is, forget about this one. This one was a test. Then we have something vanilla. This is no longer a beginner post for the stuff, title and body. Now, to take you real quick on how I built that so that I can take you to the front end. Now, what happens is that I had just an API which I built to help us create that application. So I'll show you just an overview really quick to get to understand what happens, how we get that back, and then we move to the front end where things will get interesting. Now, this is where things are going to get interesting. Now we have how many functionalities? We have the first create post. Create post is the C in CRUD, which means create. So here we accept the title, body, and the author. And then if it's okay, we get a success and a response of data, which is the post we've created. And I told you, whenever something is okay, happens in the server, each action has a status. For example, we have 200, 201, 400, 500, 43, 44. So for example, 201 means a new resource has been added, created, okay? Then we return it back. If there's an error, we say there's a server error, and the status of a server error is 500. That is for the create. Coming to get post. Now, we are fetching post, which of course is what we've done. Now, if you check here, we have status of 200, means okay, everything is okay in our server. And the success, we have it there, and the total post.length. Now, I want us to draw our attention in this function here. Remember, I'm sending back data. When you create a function for this API, you have a request and a response parameters. A request is what you are requesting from the server, okay? Like I mentioned in the request response cycle. And the response is what now the server sends back to you, okay? Now you see here, I have a response of status 200, and then I'm trying to JSONify my results. The status of success, the data is an array of posts, and the total number of posts I have, which I get with a function, a simple array function of .length. And this one you can see clearly on our browser. Status of success, then data, which is an array. You see we have an array here, which ends here. Then the total number of posts that we have is 3. 1, 2, 3. Then I'll show you, for example, if we add another post, you will see that it changes to 4 instead, and then we have 4 posts on this end. Now, finishing up on this API, get posts, get a post. Now, this one will allow us to fetch a single post, okay, using an ID. We'll get to see that later. If it's okay, 200 and a success. If there's an error, 500, which means server error and a failed message. And then if you want to delete a post, we'll do find by ID and delete. Of course, to delete the content, there's a server action that happens. Now, if we delete something from the server, we get a 204. 204 means no content. No content means it has been deleted. And then there's no data being sent back, but we want to show you something like the post has been deleted. And then if the error happens, we say, oh, it's a fail. We have an error of status 500. Then, of course, if you change our mind, it's no longer vanilla, or now from vanilla to React, you can come and update. So first you check, because we are updating what already exists. You check, do you have the post? If it's there, we go ahead and update it. If not, we say post not found. It means you are trying to update what doesn't exist. Okay, so basically that's a brief overview of how we handle the API side. Now, as you remember, you see we had a function giving us back the number of posts that we expect. For example, we have 3. Now, take a keen look. I want to use our browser client or HTTP client to add a new post. Okay, I want to create a new post, and in this case, I'm using Postman. And I want to tell you how these things will get connected. Now, a post, we have to set it as post from our Postman here at the post. Then, if you check the URL that I sent you, it's the same URL that I'm having here. https tutorialvideo.azurewebsites.net API version 1 posts, right? Then go back and confirm what we have. We have 3, a total of 3 posts here. Now I want to add a new post. Give me a title. Let's say we are doing something like Azure Cloud Computing. Then this is a bit, let's say, in the body, we want to mention something like there is no cloud, just someone else computer. Then the author, I'll use one of us in the meeting. Let me see who want to be the author of this. I'll just pick randomly. Let's use Bridget. So I'll mention the author to be Bridget. So let's come here and say the author is Bridget. Bridget, and second name. Yeah. So you see, when sending data from the client, we are actually sending the post means we want to save. It's what's responsible for the crate they see in the code. So we are creating. It means instead of getting data from the server, we are instead sending it to the server, right? Now you have to pass that data as a raw data in JSON format. Okay. Then once you have it there, you should send. Let's send. Then you should get a response here that our data has been sent. Amazing. What do we have? Success. Then we have the data, and the data is an object of title Azure Cloud Computing. Body, there is no cloud, just someone else's computer. Then the author is Bridget. Second, the ID is automatically generated for you by a database of your choice. Then the version of that document. Amazing. Up there, we're following together. Now, if I go back to where we fetched our posts, what do we expect? We expect to see 4 here instead of 3 because we've added 1. And then we expect to see that post added down here as the last post. It's like it's doing a push. You push, it adds it to the end of the array. So what do we do in this manner? Refresh. Let's refresh and see. So we can print it to be pretty. And then what do we have? Total of 4. And here is the document that we added. Title is Azure Cloud Computing. Body, there's no cloud, just someone else's computer. And the author is Bridget. Second. Now to test this, can someone try it from the link we sent and confirm to us, are we getting the same thing that I'm having in the screen? Anyone who can try that, just refresh your page using the same link that we sent Abdul and Yvonne are saying it's very okay, amazing. Thank you. Now, that is how I built the API. And maybe if you want to know how to build from scratch, I'll maybe do another session later, someday, how to build such APIs and even more advanced one. So that's the API part. Now, that API has been uploaded and deployed to Azure. Now, Azure has a resource called Web App. If you check here, I have a resource called Web App. Now, Web App is an Azure resource service that allows you to deploy your APIs or full stack applications. Now, when you see the overview here, I have something like a resource group. Now, basically a container where I organize my applications, and then the URL for that API and the location where you deployed your application. In this case, the nearest data center with me in Kenya is South Africa North. So I chose that. And then subscription ID. The rest are just a number of settings that you tamper with and how you want. Now, we are all good on the back end. Now, I want us to move to the front end now. On the front end is what I want us to build from scratch. That's a simple form which will allow us, instead of using Postman, because no one of us here will be able to access Postman, I want to build an application really quick as we watch, send you the link, we deploy it officially, send you the link, then 2 or 3 of you will be able to add a post, then review from our end. So I think that's okay. So to do that, we just start a new application. Of course, I'm going to use a few framework really quick to help us build it faster. In the meantime, any question up to that point? Any question up to that point, if you have any? So I'll just create a new folder on my desktop. I'll call it Azure, and then I'll change into that directory. Then I'll open my VS Code inside there. Yeah, so it's our VS Code is loading up, and then I want to show you how you can actually make your application live from the initial steps of development, which means once we have our project set up, I'm going to send you the link. Then as we make changes to our application, we'll be able to see them being deployed live. Okay, close. You'll be able to see how everything is being deployed live. So, so we want to initialize an application, view application. So to do that, you just come to Quick Start. Then you pick the command really quick. I want to use pnpm. You click on that command of the script, come to your VS Code here. I trust me. So just click I trust me and say yes. Once you are there, open the terminal using the Ctrl and tilde key. Let me zoom in. I'm zooming in so that we can see clearly what I'm typing. Simple to start that project. Once you are inside here, open the terminal, then press that command. So it depends on the type of the package manager you are using. We have pnpm, we have npm, and we have yarn. I prefer using pnpm because it's relatively fast compared to the other two. So I'll use that. So just come to your terminal and paste that command there, then press enter. It will ask you a few questions. For example, your package name, what do you want to install? So package name, project name, I'll leave it like, I'll name it, let's name it also Azure demo. Test script, no. JS, no. Router, no, we don't need any routing now. No. Pinia, no. Retest, no. No. Excellent for code quality, perhaps that's okay. Prettier will be come in handy. Then we want that dev tool there. So once that is done, it tells you now seed it into Azure demo. You simply copy what you have there, then press enter. Then now we install the packages pnpm install. Then it will install. Of course, here you'll have now our directory here. You see Azure demo already there, and you have the project files being listed here. So once this is done, we'll be able to quick kickstart our development. So really quick, we want to do things live. So I'm about to send you the link we deploy it. I'm showing you how we deploy the client and everything. Installing. Amazing. So once that is done, the next thing we want to do is to do what? pnpm run dev. Now this is like a script for now starting the development server, right? So come here and just type pnpm run dev. And if you're wondering where the pnpm comes from, run dev, I'll show you where it comes from. My machine, I don't know why. Amazing. Kidogo. I fixed this. pnpm run dev. Let me fix this really quick. pnpm run dev. So it will start our development server, and once that is up and running, we'll be good to run it on the screen. So it gives us a URL to follow. So click on this, control, click on that. That will open it on a browser. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. And it opens it on the browser. For a minute, let's see. Just hold on. It's an intensive process, so it will take time. So now our development server is running, and we'll be able to see what's rendered on our screen. So you see we have it here. We have it there. So it's loading the setup of our Vue application and install it. Now we have it here ready. Now we're going to tamper with a few files here and there. Then we also have a message like welcome to the front end. So back to our code here. First thing we want to do, come to the src folder here in the app.vue file here, and then remove everything that we have. Even here, I'll delete import statements. I'll remove this one here. Remove that. I'll come to the template section. I'll remove everything here. Also in the header, I'll also remove everything in the main. Actually, the main, I can leave it there because we're going to work with that. In the style section, I can delete the styles that we have. We don't need those styles right now. We can work with our styles later. Can do the styles back, just the empty tags. Amazing. And then our main tag here, we can just say hello. Sorry, do a h1 actually. Use the lower caps h1 or h2. Okay. Hello. Welcome to the client. Once you have that, if you come back to our browser where we had it open, what do we have? Hello, welcome to the client. But of course, we have some styles affecting our rendering there. Now, so come to assets here in the base CSS, just delete everything that we have there, come to main CSS, then delete. In fact, you can delete even those files themselves, but just leave them. So what do we have? Hello, welcome to the client. You see how we build it. Now, it means now we have our project ready, set up, and we are able to start building, okay? Like I mentioned earlier, I want to show you how you can deploy the very initial version of your application and then iterate your development. So if you add a new feature, you push it, it gets deployed automatically to the cloud and you can be able to view it. So the first thing we're going to do is to deploy what we have now, then we build, then we push it again to the main, and from the main, it will build automatically to the cloud and it will be live in our link. So to do that, let me clear up these many tabs that we have in here because we no longer need them. What else do we need here? We don't need the files. This one also, yeah, we can leave it that. So come to your Azure. For those who have Azure, and when you come to your Azure, this is the first screen that you will see. And if you have some resources already up and running, you'll see them here. But if you don't have, you'll see no resources available. Now from there, what do we do next? You want to get a resource. Get a resource. Then to deploy a front-end application, we call it a static web app. So come to the resources here and search for static web app. Now, static web app includes React, Next, Simulate, Vue, Next, and any other front-end application or framework you ever think about. So when you search it for it here, you will be able to find it here. So click on static web app. Once you click on it, click on create. Now, what we're doing right now at this point is like we're now creating a resource that will hold our application. Now, once you are here, I want you to pause there a little bit. We go back to our code, and then we want to now push it to GitHub first. So how do we do that? First, initialize this repository as a Git repo by doing git init. Amazing. So you can see we have untracked flags here. Then let's track everything. Git add. Then you can see everything is added. Next is to commit. Git commit. And as usual, mine is initial commit. Amazing. Now we have tracked our files locally in Git. Now it's time to go to GitHub and create a repository for that project. Coming and create a new tab here. Then navigate to your GitHub account. I'll show you how we do this. You create a new repository, then push your code to that repository. So let's load. Let's load. Let's load. It's going to load. And once it has loaded, we create a new repository, then we merge it with what we have. So this is simple. This is very simple. Click on create. Click on create. Then any name, just call it Azure demo. Of course, we'll check if it is available. The name, then the owner is actually me, Osego. That's it. Now this is available. So make it public. Of course, you can access it later. We can do something with it. Then just create the repository. So you have it ready. So you can push an existing repo from the command line. So copy everything that you have in the last section of commands. Copy everything there. Go back to your code. Clear everything here. And then paste the commands there. Press enter. Then it will add the remote origin. Then it will change the branch to main. Then push everything upstream. Press enter. So give it time. It's doing its thing. Just give it time. You see, amazing. So you see it has already pushed from our main branch to the main branch in the upstream. Upstream is like the origin, which is our GitHub now. When I come back to our repository here, if I refresh, we should be able to see the code that we've just deployed. So we have Azure demo. So there's a mistake. I'm not supposed to push it as the all folder. I should push only the files. So just a minute. I'll I can be sure that I'll correct that. So I want to remove Git. So once I do that, I'll remove Git. So there's no tracking. Let's check. Git remote. Nothing. So that is it. That's how you can actually remove a Git if you tracked it wrongly. So what you do, we need to CD into the project, which is Azure demo. So come here and CD. Let me clear so you can see. So CD into Azure demo. Then now Git init here. Amazing. Then remember we followed the procedures that we had. Git add, Git commit, which is initial. Call it initial commit. Then once committed, I'll now just remove this repository here and create a new one really quick, because this one has been, so delete repository. I want to delete this one, copy this. I know it will be act somewhere, delete, understood, paste, delete. Use GitHub mobile, so I'll confirm it from my mobile. That is what we call two-factor authentication. So in my mobile, I'm waiting for the notification to come in so that I can confirm. That is 29. Approve, approved. So it will reload to confirm access. You can see it's reloading. That is done. So real quick, a new one. Then call it demo Azure. Or the owner is Osego Tech. Availability available. Really quick, create repo. Amazing. The same procedure, copy this, come back to your terminal, then clear this, then paste that, then give it time. It will do its thing like it's done before. Let's see. Let's see, it's doing its thing. So once we push it to GitHub, then we go back to Azure, where we have our resource. Amazing. It's already pushed, you see, from main to main in the origin on the repository. So coming here to refresh, what do we have? Nice. This is what we wanted. So it's Azure demo. So once you have it this way, the next thing now is to go back to where we left here. Remember, we were here. Now, once you are here in your Azure, subscription is like your subscription that you have. Of course, you learn something about subscriptions in Azure. Then a script, like I mentioned, is just a logical container for applications. And in this case, I have one created here called tutorials. Click on that. Now the name, let's call it blog Azure, the name of our application, the front end. It has to check if it's available. You see, we have a tick here, which means it's okay. Our plan is this is a hobby project. So click on hobby. Now, regions, we want to make it global. Of course, it has no significance because this one is a front-end application. Now, if you come down here, we have something we call deployment details. Now, select the source of your deployment. In this case, we want to deploy from GitHub because we're going to use GitHub Actions to automate our deployment, what we call CI/CD. So GitHub. Then GitHub account is, of course, my account, which is already connected, Osego Tech. Now, when you have connected your account anytime, you will connect it here, simply authenticate from your GitHub, and it will be okay. Then coming here, we want to select the organization for application, which is still my name. Repository, what did we name it? Come here, check. It's named Demo Azure. Come back to Azure and select, and then search Demo Azure. We have it there. Click on that. Now, which branch do we want to deploy? Of course, you have to deploy a specific branch. And in this case, we want to deploy the main branch. So select main. If you have many repos here, it will show you the number of repos you have. So the branches. In this case, we want to use main. Click on that. Amazing. So it's analyzing. Now you can see it has already detected that my application is a view application. Detected. So I leave it at that way. App location, that one. API location, we don't want. Output location, now when application build the view application, everything is being pumped into the list folder. Leave it that way. Then next, what you can do, preview the workflow file. Now, workflow file is what contains the steps, the jobs, and the trigger CI/CD. See here, this is the name of our workflow. What will happen if we push to the branch main, or someone opens a pull request and it merges to branch main, then these jobs will happen. It will build and deploy. Then the steps that it will use is like it underlayer the name, the ID, it checks the security which we have here, and then close everything. So everything is okay there. Of course, it's not such important. Once you have that, then review and create. Up here, it will be validating your settings. If it's okay, it will tell you validated or okay. Then this one will be active now, create. So let's wait and see if it's okay. Now you see, this is active, means our application is okay. Click on create. Click on create. Now it is initializing our deployment, okay? To see what happens here, come back to your GitHub, then navigate to actions. In actions here, once our deployment has started, you will see it will have some actions running here, the workflows. So let's wait and see. Initializing our deployment. Give it time. Once everything is complete here, when we now be coming back to actions here, you will find we have some actions running. Let's check the code. You see it has already added GitHub workflows here. And there's a workflow already running here. Now let's click on actions. What do we have? We have a workflow file which already started its process here. You can click on that to see the progress of what's happening. So first, like we mentioned, build deploy. Click on that. Then setup is okay, the build is okay, running, now it's building and deploying. You can just see the logs. If there's an error, we'll fix it and move forward. If there's an error, you can see it from here. Of course, they'll be in red. Warnings are in yellow. It's doing. Then from there, you can see what happens when now we start pushing our application. Amazing, build, finished. Let's see. Still building. Guys, this thing is interesting. Once you test how to deploy applications to cloud, you'll always want to deploy daily. You'll always want to push a change. So let's just see how it's done. So almost. We almost there. So here's how you check the progress. Of course, I see our site is already up here. You see, and in this link, let me right click and open a new tab. Still loading, amazing. So I want to send you this link on the chat section. Tell me if you see what we see. Once you try it and it's working, you simply thumbs up. We move on to the next step. So check on that. If you get this message back, hello and welcome from the client, that tells you our app has already been deployed in under 10 minutes. So once you have that, just do a thumbs up in our meeting so that we continue. If I said it's okay, one more. Maina, okay. Let's move on. Now, what we've done is that we've deployed our app from its initial phase. So, and we also set what we call a workflow that will always deploy any changes that we make as long as you push it to the main branch. and it's merged successfully, it will now deploy it to cloud, and we'll be able to see the changes as they happen, right? Now, let's build the application so that we can see what happens. Now, we go back to our editor in the app section. So instead of this, we want to have a H1 here, and let's say Azure blog. So once we have Azure blog here, we can have a form. We need no action here. We don't need no action here. Then have basically a form that will allow us to accept the details of a blog application. So we need a label for the title, and the label is title. Then we need an input for this title. Input of type text. Let's have a placeholder. A placeholder. Let's call it blog title. Let's have another label for the post, what we call the description. Let's check from our API what we need. We need our title and the body and the author. Now the author we are not going to pass because I set the author to be by default. But of course we can still add it. I'll show you how to do that. But if you don't, there's a way in which it will do it. So label for the body, and then let's call the label body. And then let's have the input for that body. The input, I want it to be a text area because it can take some long text. So we can have, call it the body. The ID should also be body. Then let's check in our browser. Now this won't work still because this is live. We haven't pushed, but now we're going to use the local development. You see, we have title. We have the title, and then we have what? We have what we call the body. And then the next thing that we want to add there is the submit button, which will be responsible for submitting our application. So what next do we want to add here is to add submit button. Where do we add that? Hapa tu chini. Let's do a button of type submit. Submit, and let's name it submit. Once you have that, we want to come to the script section here because we have our everything now ready. The Azure blog title, we pass it here. The body, we pass it there. This one can be expanded. Styling itakuja baadaye. Then the submit itakuwa hii. So when we click on submit, it should handle our submit. It should send it to the server. Now we want to inspect. Now, because we're going to work with the real API, we need a client. I mean HTTP package that will help us send data. In that case, all of us have heard of this thing called Axios. So we're going to use Axios in our application. So here, we have to install Axios. So clear up everything here, and then install Axios. npm install Axios. So let Axios install. Let Axios install. It means in your file of app, any file that you have, inside there you can define your what we call the logic of your application, the interactivity of the front end. Also, you can define the template, which is the HTML. Also, you can define the styles, which is the style section here. So first, we are going to initialize our data. In this case, we're working with the post. I want to see how easy it is to work with a framework. So we have const post. Now, a post, I want it to be an object, but I want it to be a reactive object. To make it reactive in Vue, you do something, use a ref. Now, this ref is part of Vue module. Just do import ref from Vue. So a ref is just to make it reactive. So once you have ref, then of course we pass it as an object. Now our post needs to accept the title, which initially is empty, right? Then we need the body. Sorry, we need a comma here. Then it will have also a body. What's not happening? A minute. Yeah, have the body, and the body initially is also empty. Okay, so already we have our data initialized here. So this will be responsible for this. Now, there's a way in which you tie your data here to the form that you have. Now, Vue has something that we call a vModel. A vModel allows you to do two-way binding. You can change, like interchange data to your script section and to the template section. So to do that, you come here to your input. Of course, this is for the title. So in your input here, just add a new attribute called vModel and model it to what? The title. The title is part of an object called the post. Now it will be post.title. So just like post dot title. You see, we have it here. Amazing. Then we have the body. The body is the text area. So in the text area here, add also a vModel, and then we are modeling here. So it will be post dot body. Okay. Now at this point, we've already done what? We've already, how do we call it? Connected our template to the script section. So when we add something here, it will reflect what we have here. For example, to show you that, I can just come here. Let's try if this will work. I want to pass this data here, and let's say this, call it post dot title. In fact, let me give it a style. Let's call it a paragraph. Then inside there, no. That's why we need to have this title. Sorry. That way. Then let's do some external styling. Style, let's say color should be white. Then, background color should be blue. Amazing. So let's see what happens. If I come back to our browser, let's see it has to load because we have added a number of things. Let me try adding some title. Let's say intro to Vue. Do you see what happens? As I type, it adds that data item here. If I remove, it's so automatic. Let's say welcome to Azure intro. You see what happens? Now that is what vModel does. vModel does what? It connects your template to your data application. So ni kama tuna connect our title to the data that holds it. Even if I come back again and add, let's say, the body. Kuja hapa, let's add the body also. Let's have another one like this, Control C, then Control V. Then instead of title, let's have body. And then let's say background should be red, color white. So let's see what happens. In the body, we can have welcome to Azure. You see what happens? So that's how quickly we've already connected our template, which is our form, to the data. So I removed that. That was for demo purposes. So let me just move this. At least you understand what vModel does. You understand what vModel does. So the next thing we want to do, we want to now build the handler function. For example, if you are working on a JavaScript, you will have something like a function, then you add something like event.add event listener. So in this case, what you want to do, just call it like a function. And then in this case, you want to name it const submit form. And this is going to be what we call an arrow function. An arrow function accepts like an argument, then the function block there. So we want to handle our errors also. Let's say try and catch block will come in handy. So in our try block, we are going to use what we call now Axios. Axios will help us in sending requests. So what you want to do is import Axios. import Axios from Axios. Then now we tend to do what we want to do. So what we're trying to do here is to define a function that will be responsible for submitting data to our backend. How do we do that? Const, we need some response. Response equals to, now this should be an asynchronous function. Await, since it's an await, it's an asynchronous because it involves database operations. One request has to be completed before we move to the next. Okay, so await Axios dot post, because we are sending, post is to create. Then now you pass in the URL of your API here. Now you understand where the URL comes into play of the API. So you pass it as a string. Now to do that, I'm just coming direct to our chat section and picking the URL that we had. Where is it? Yeah, we had it here. So I'll right click on this, then copy this link, go back to our application and paste it there. So it means we are posting our request to this API, right? Then of course it will accept what we call the data that we are sending this request. So the data that you're sending with this request is what we have here, the post. Now you pass it as the second argument. Now this data is the post, but the post is reactive. So you have to refer to it as post.value, right? So post value, because it's reactive data. So once you do view, you understand why we call it, why we mention it to be reactive value. Then we can try and console log what is being sent. For example, the response. Then we pass in the response that we get. Then in the error section, we just try and catch the errors. So of course, we have the error parameter here. Then we can just try and log the error. Then name it error. The error object there. Once you have that in place, now this is the function. This function needs to be invoked when an event occurs. Just like in vanilla JS, you do something like add event listener, right? So coming back to your form here, we have what we call action events in view. In your form here, in the opening section here, you see here we don't have something like an action. Instead, we have something like at submit. So this is responsible for submitting this form. Now in a vanilla JavaScript application, you use something like prevent default. Now in view, we have something called event modifiers. So at submit.prevent, then now you pass the function. Which function do we have? Submit form. Do we have? Just type submit form. Simple. That's how you do your application. Just type a submit form. So let's go back to our application, and I hope it's still running. So we are in local development. Let's just refresh and see what we have. We hope it's still working. So what do? We want to try and send some information. For that matter, I want to open our network tab. Like I've told you, open the network tab here. And you want to see how things happen. So let's say blog title, let's call it deploy React on Azure. Then the body, I am too lazy to do that. So let's just pick some text. We can do something like Lorem ipsum. Then we just grab the text, paste it there, because life is too short to type everything for a demo. Highlight everything, anything, let's stop it there. Copy, go back to our application, then you want to paste. The next thing you want to do is to submit. When we submit, I want us to check closely what happens in the network tab here. So let's submit. What do we have? Posts has been created. So click on this. Then request URL is tutorial video Azure websites.net API version 1. That is the headers, the payload. Payload is the data that you sent. See, title is deploy React on Azure. What do we have here? Deploy React on Azure. The body, lorem ipsum, lorem ipsum. Look, lorem ipsum. Then you can preview how it is sent. This is the response we get. Author is Osego codes, and then the body is what we passed. The title is what deploy React on Azure. The response that we get is a status of success, the data that we are sending, and everything. Now, if you come to the logs, you see we also log the data that we send, because remember, we logged. So you see we have everything there being logged, even the data that we need, which is here, success. Now, that being done, let's go back to our live site, right? This is the site that we have. No, not really that one. The site of the API, we were here. Remember, initially you had 4 posts. What do we expect now? We need to have 5. Now let's refresh this and see what we have. Then print it prettily. What do we have? 5 posts, and then we have deploy React to Azure, lorem ipsum. A thumbs up if you are with me up to that point. Just do a thumbs up really quick. Then you want to see how we push it to cloud, and then if you access the link again, you'll be able to, in fact, create a post. I just need 2 more thumbs up to know that we are okay. Gio is amesema tuko sawa hadi hapo. Anyone else who is okay up to there? Okay, nice. So let's take it further. The next thing we want to do, we want to push our changes that we have added to our project here to GitHub. Then using our workflow that we created, GitHub will push it to Azure, passing off the test, and our application will be live again. So let me come here. We want to add all the changes. So git status. Let's first check the status. We've modified the package. We've added SRC on the app. So before we do that, let's try and style it a little bit. Just the styling. Of course, we are done. We are done here. So let's add some styles here really quick. The form. We want to give it a display of flex. Then flex direction. We need a column. Then we need a gap of, let's say, 20 pixels. Let's see what we have. Let me just split this. Let me split. Amazing. Push this to the end. Then let's work with the other side. Let's work with this here so that we can actually sell it as we watch. I can do this on this other end. Amazing. So we are styling. Amazing. So let's style this real quick. So okay. So then let's style the button. Button, give it a background color. Sorry. Yeah, the button should have a background color. Background color of blue. A text of white. Color should be white.
Are you hearing, guys? I lost voices again. You are still hearing.
Hello, guys. Can you hear me? Hello, can someone hear me? We are about to finish.
Yeah, now,
Yes,
now.
yes, yes.
But you were off.
Okay, okay, but I'm now back.
Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So we were selling our application, and I think we've sold it just enough. Let me check. I think this is just enough, so I return it back to its own parent window. There. So what we need to do is to now deploy our changes, what we have here. So like I said, you push your changes to GitHub. So I'll do git add everything. Then git commit a message of, let's say, added post form. Then git push origin main. Let's see, it will push that. Once it pushes this, when we go back to our, what we call the GitHub repo, in the actions tab, we should be able to see our workflow building again. So let's see, it's pushing. Of course, we have this. In this case, you want to pull everything, which is the workflow file we had. Git, let me clear so that you can see the command. Clear, git pull origin main. This simply syncs what you have locally with what you have on the remote repo. So let's wait that. We are done here. I want to send the link, we test, then we see what happens. It's pulling. Just give it some time. It will pull all the changes that we had in the remote repo. It will do that really quick. Amazing. So you just need to give it the strategy to use. We want to merge those changes, copy, come here, then paste. Done. So what next you want to see? Git. Let's check the status once more. Git status. Correct. So git push origin main. Amazing. So that should now work. Okay, wait a minute. Git remote. Git push. Origin. Then what do we have? Main. Let's see why we have this problem here. Let's do git pull once more. Git pull origin main. We want to know why it's having a problem pushing. Let's see. Okay, so this is now fixed. Amazing. So we've added everything here, GitHub. Amazing. So the next, check its status. Clean. Now push. That should now work. Let's check. That should now work. Once this is pushed, we go back to our GitHub repository. We check the actions tab. We'll be able to see that our actions is running once again, our workflow file. Amazing. You see it has pushed. Amazing. So I think we can just shut down VS Code. Coming back to our repository here, I want to show you how things work around. So come back to actions. Now you see we have it running again. This workflow is running again because we've made changes. So again on the build, click on that because we want to actually monitor everything happening here. So let's see. That should work. It's building. Tick. Give it time. Post actions running. That is so normal. That's a problem with the architecture of Azure. So done. The last step, there we go. Now you see every time you make a change, push to branch main, it then automates the deployment from your repository all the way to Azure. And once it's done in Azure, your link is updated, your app is updated, and everything will work on your end. So you want to try this. Let's just wait for it to finish the deployment, which is just taking us some little more time. Then you see what happens. Amazing. It's complete. Let's wait for it to stop. Right. So our app is complete. Now, if I come back to the deployed one, check here. This is what we deployed. If I refresh, I want to see what happens. You see, we have everything already deployed back. Now, I want to give you this app. Of course, we have it in the chat section. Can you have someone in the chat section try and create a new post and tell me to confirm on my end. So someone to try this. Create a new post using this link here. I see. Let me paste it once again. Copy link. Paste. Can someone create a new post and what created, then we confirm from our end? Okay, so we see Kipto has created a post. So let's go back to our server API and check. Let me zoom out. Kipto, tell us what you've created before we refresh. The title that you've created so that we can be sure that you've created that post. Keep it telling us the title. So once we refresh, there's something called the push. It should be the last post. And if you had 5 posts initially, hey buddy, reject finance bill, amazing. So let's go to our API and refresh. So we have 3 at the moment. Let's refresh. People have just created a number of posts. Let's see. Guys, enough. You guys are stealing my credits. Enough. So let's see the first person who created. Hey buddy, reject finance bill. It's Felix. Amazing. I'm the author, of course. Hello developer. This session was interesting. Thank you. Someone else. Azure is just amazing. Someone else. Nice. So as you can see, we have other. Hey Felix, rejected. So that is what happens with Azure. So you see, you set up your project initially. Once you set it up, then you deploy it. So once you deploy it, you can make it like to your audience. Then every new feature that you add, every time you push it to your main branch, it is built and deployed automatically to Azure. And what happens is in the workflow file here. Let me just show you practically what actually happens. So if you come here, remember we had a workflow file here. Let me get back a little bit to the previous page. So I'll show you the jobs that happen, the steps that are taken. So this is the file that is helping us to do all this. This YAML file. Click on that. I want to show you what it contains inside here. Now you see it's the name. It's simple. Now this workflow file, it becomes active when what happens? It becomes active when you push to a branch. Which branch? Main branch. Or when a pull request is done to the main branch and it's merged very okay, right? Then the jobs, it will build and deploy, and these are the steps that it will take to build and deploy. Once that's built and deployed, it then closes that pull request. Of course, this pull request is something that it opens itself and then closes it once it's done. That's how simple this workflow file is and the steps that it does. The trigger is on push, the jobs, and then the steps are here. So that is what happens with Azure. So due to time, yeah, we need to clear the fields after clicking the submit button. Of course, if we have done that, but due to time, we'll do it. So basically, guys, that is what happens with Azure. If you had more time, or if you guys were in a hurry, we could have seen how we can even render those posts in our application if we had like a number of functionalities. But because we are limited to time, I think we'll just stop it there. Unless we have a question or you have anything that you want to say for this event, then it will be okay.
So thank you for watching this video till the end. If you love the content, kindly support by liking, subscribing, and also you can share the video to your friends and other platforms. That was Osego Codes signing out.